Hi, welcome back, you beautiful souls. This is James, also known as the Only Zerg, and this will be part two to what if. One moment. This will be part two to what if Deku had Chrono Lock. And some of you, someone commented that this is like Ares quirk, but more OP. And I want to explain that in the video, and I didn't want to ruin it. But Deku does not have a quirk like Ares. See, Ares' quirk, she can only rewind organic matter. Izuku rewinds time. He's not rewinding the matter, he's rewinding the space-time in a localized area. Or he can accelerate the space-time in the area. But so Izuku, so that being said, Izuku doesn't have a quirk doesn't have a quirk like Ares. It can have, he can do similar things that Ares would be able to do, but his quirk doesn't work like Ares does. So that being said, let's get into our story. Where we last left off, Izuku pulled Katsuki to Dagobah Beach, where he met All Might. And then All Might explained that he wants to train them, and so now let us begin. All Might asked them to remove their shirts so he can see their current level. And both Izuku and Katsuki are kind of say weird, but okay. And so they take their shirts off, and All Might is shocked at their physique, in so are Katsuki and Deku, simply because both of them, they've been hitting the gym and everything, but they both did not realize how muscular they had gotten, how toned out they got, because they were usually just meeting each other with eye, or constantly trying to outdo the other. Because they're rivals, they don't want to be outdone by the other, and so Izuku's been doing some training with his quirk in private, and so has Katsuki. And he's like, well, you two are really fit. Have you told him why I asked you to here, young Midoriya? And he's like, no, I haven't told him anything. I just told him that there's someone that wants to meet us somewhere, and it's someone that you would want to meet. That's what I told him. And All Might kind of goes, okay then. Well, and so he explains his quirk to Katsuki and everything, and he's like, wait, you offered this to Izuku and he didn't take it? And then this is when Izuku piped up, and he's like, well, Kachan, I don't think I need it. My quirks, if I train it enough, I could probably be more powerful than All Might. But All Might really wants one of us to have his quirk. He first asked me, but I said, you'd be a better fit for it. Plus, it'd make you a better rival, because the stronger you get, the stronger I get. Right? And if I get stronger because you're stronger, that means you can get even stronger. And Katsuki's like, you arrogant little nerd, what have you done? And this is when Izuku basically says, He starts talking out loud. He's like, should I show him? Should I do it? Should I do it? I'm trying to do it. And he's like, no, not yet. It's not the right time. And so they spend like a couple of hours, and All Might is explaining that they're going to spend the next 10 months training at the beach to so that he can definitely make sure that Kotsky's body is ready for One for All. And then when All Might finishes explaining about the quirk about like the cleanup, Izuku's like, "Oh, you want us to clean this beach up? One moment." And All Might's like, "What are you gonna do?" And Izuku like just says, "I'm not sure if it's gonna work, but here I go." And Izuku just reaches up in his hand, like he creates a chrono bubble, and then he pulls out a scythe, and like Katsuki's like freaking the fuck out. He's like, "You damn nerd! What the fuck is that? Like, what the hell? You can do that with your quirk? What is that?" And Izuku's like, I'm actually not quite sure what it is, but all I know, it kind of magnifies like my quirk a little bit, and I can do things like this. And Izuku basically takes the scythe, and he's like, one moment, can you guys just go over there real quick, because this might be a little too intense for you guys. And All Might's kind of looking at this kid. He's like, "Young man, is this dangerous?" And he's like, "No, but the after effects of it can be very brutal on people if they're not used to it. And I threw up for like 30 minutes straight the first time I did this, so I'm not quite good at it yet, so just go over there real quick. I promise, All Might, it's nothing. There's nothing to be afraid of, and it's not going to destroy anything. Like, I have control over it. It's just, I don't know if you guys could handle the side effects of what I'm about to do." So All Might wearily, and so does Katsuki, and then they just see Izuku walk to the middle of the beach, and what he does, he's like, he basically takes a scythe, and they just see him like jab it into the ground, and then his scythe is standing there, but Izuku disappears. And all of a sudden, things on the beach just start disappearing, like one after another, like in very quick succession. And then eventually, his scythe, like a little ball on his scythe, turns a color, and everything comes back to normal. And they see Zuko standing over a giant pile of trash, and a quarter of the beach is cleared out. And Izuku like comes out, like the chrono bubble that was like engulfing the section of the beach had dissipated. And then Izuku's like, "You mean like this, All Might?" And All Might's like, "Wait, young man, what did you just do?" And Izuku's like, "Oh, time dilation. I kind of figured out that I can dilate time with inside like my chrono bubbles, and I can only make like chrono bubbles like huge if I'm like wielding this thing. Like otherwise they're only like this big." And he creates like a chrono bubble that's like the size of like one of the fridges, and he's like, "I can also do this." And so he basically he walks over, grabs his scythe, and then walks over to the pile of trash that he piled up. Because what he was doing inside the chrono bubble, like it ate up a lot of the time, is he was creating chrono bubbles with inside that and just basically moving things because they're technically like weightless. He's removing them from the time space that they're in. And so he used a lot of energy doing what he did. And then he's like, I can also do this with my chrono bubbles. And he walks over and he's holding his scythe, and he just comes down like very slowly, and then like another bubble forms around the trash pile, and then he just basically says, accelerate. And All Might and Kotsky are just like, Kotsky's more like pissed to holy hell. He's like, what the actual hell, you damn nerd. And All Might's just in shock. He's like, he sees the pile of trash like aging rapidly, and then eventually it's turning into dust, and then it just eventually just turns, like, whole piles turn to dust. And Izuku's like, and I can do that. And this is when Izuku kind of falls to one knee, and he's like, I used way too much energy. Well, it has been like 2 hours for me? New record. And All Might like comes walking over, and he's like, yo man, are you okay? And Izuku's like, I'm fine. I need to catch myself. I'm a little worn out. That took a lot out of me. That was a brutal 2 hours for me. And All Might's like, what do you mean 2 hours? It's only been like in 15 minutes. Like, and Izuku's like, yeah, it's a time dilation thing, and it's been 2 hours for me, but it's been 15 minutes outside my chrono bubble. So it really took a lot out of me, and I think I'm done today. It's gonna take a while for me to rest, but I can also do other things with my quirk as well. And this is when Kotsky walks up, and he's like, you damn nerd, you've really been holding back, haven't you? And Izuku like starts laughing. He's like, yeah, and now you see why I think like you should take All Might's offer and like accept his quirk, because then you could truly be like a real rival for me. Like, yeah, like I'm just, like, my chrono bubbles are strong, but if you can move that fast, like if I don't know you're coming, like, and you're say like if you're a good far enough distance away, and I don't see you come, and I don't know you're coming, you could probably catch me off guard really good. And Kotsky kind of like punches him in the shoulder, and he's like, you damn nerd. And so he turns to All Might, and he's like, yeah, I guess I'll accept your quirk, All Might, but are you sure you want to give it to me and not like Deku? Like, he seems like he could use it a lot more than me. And All Might starts laughing at this, and Katsu's like, what's so funny? What did I say that was funny? And All Might explains to him, he's like, you two are exactly alike. He said that too. Your friend Midoriya, he said that as well about you. And Kotsky begins to laugh, and he's like, well, okay then. Well, if you think I'm worthy of it, then yeah, of course I'll accept your quirk. But and then All Might turns to Izuku, and he says, young man, it doesn't seem like you need to work out as much as Kotsky. You should focus more on getting your quirk control. And while I'm here, I can, if a pro comes by, I can kind of shoo him away, because I'm going to give you permission. As long as I'm here on the beach with you, you're allowed to use your quirk. And then he turns to Kotsky, and he's like, and you, young man, you're going to have to clean up the rest of the beach. And Kotsky's like, oh, crud. And then All Might explains that you've been working out, but you have some undefined like muscles here, here, and here, basically pointing it out like on his own body. And he's like, you've got to build, like, yes, you're physically strong, but you need to build functional strength. And Kazi's like, what is that? And All Might's like, strength like this. He walks over to a fridge and picks it up and then jumps. A, like 10, 15 feet away from it. And then puts it down and then crushes it. He's like, that's what functional strength is. Like, you may be able to lift these, but you've got to be able to move. You got to be able to move that weight once you've done it. Basically, Kotsky skipped leg day a couple of times, is what it comes down to. And All Might's trying to be nice about it. So Kotsky understands this, and so now we're going to do a little bit of time skip to the 8-month mark, and Kotsky has gotten the majority of the beach, of the section of the beach that All Might wants him to clean up. And this is when Izuku comes up to him and he's like, All Might, I think I figured it out. And All Might's like, good, young man. So you can control it a lot better, and it doesn't strain your stamina as much, right? And Izuku's like, yeah. And Izuku's like, you know what? Matter of fact, one moment. He reaches into a chrono bubble and pulls out a scythe, plops it down, and then proceeds to like accelerate the time around the like in the area where the trash is left. And then he collects it up into a pile, comes out of the chrono bubble, picks his scythe back up, and then shrinks the chrono bubble to just around the trash, and then he says accelerate. Basically, accelerating time to where everything inside the bubble turns to dust, just like he did months ago. And he's like, see, I've gotten a lot better at it, and I've also figured something else out. I figured out like the time dilation a long time ago. I've really been working on something else. And he turns to All Might and he turns to Kotsky and he's like, you guys want to try it out? And he's like, also, All Might, one moment. And he pulls, like Izuku pulls out a tiny hourglass. And he's like, oh my, you should probably hold on to this. You said you had a time limit on like how much hero work you can do. And All Might's like, what do you mean? It's like, well, what I'm about to do, if you're not in your buff form, you could get hurt eventually. And every time we go into this is going to it's hard to explain. I have to show you guys. And so Izuku puts his scythe back into a chrono bubble and then creates another chrono bubble and pulls another scythe out. And he walks over and he kind of tells them to come close to him, and then he plops his scythe down and he says, chrono bubble extension. And then he lets go of the scythe, and then Izuku, All Might, and I would say 25% of the beach is inside this bubble. And everybody that's looking inside the bubble just sees like these three figures that are kind of like blurry, because Izuku and All Might and Kotsky are moving around in this. And then All Might's like, this is okay, we're inside one of your chrono bubbles. And then Kotsky's like, wait, Izuku, we're able to move around. Like, that's what time dilation is? And he's like, yeah, I've gotten it to where I can I can make like 2 hours inside here as though it's like 15 minutes outside. So we can basically train for an hour inside here, and it will be as though like we've been training for 8 hours. And Kosky's like, dude, that's awesome. That means we can lift weights and do all kinds of other stuff, like a lot more. Not to mention, and then Kosky says, wait a minute. Is this how your grades have been improving a lot, like the past couple of months? And Izuku's like, dang, you noticed that, didn't you? And Kachan's like, yeah, I noticed that. So you've been doing this. And Izuku's like, yeah, you caught me. Well, I guess it was going to happen eventually. But the whole time dilation is besides, I figured something else out about like this. And he's like, oh my, you've got the hourglasses, like, right? And you're touching it with your skin, right? And Izuku's, All Might's like, yeah, I've got it right here. And he holds it out in his hand. And then Izuku's like, okay, good. Kachan, prepare yourself, because you're going to feel heavy in a moment. And so Izuku's like, time dilation, gravity increase. And Izuku says, like, 2 times. And immediately Katsuki just feels like himself, like, really heavy. And Katsuki all, like, falls over a little bit, and then he just gets up, and he looks at Izuku, and Izuku's just standing there, like, smirking. And he's like, you damn nerd, what did you do to me? And he's like, oh no, I didn't do anything to you directly. I just increased gravity with inside my chrono bubble. And All Might's like says, wait, what? So he's experiencing, why am I experiencing it? And he's like, because of that hourglass, that kind of helps you that prevents you from experiencing the change. And he's like, yeah, so, like, as long as you're touching that, and he basically is, and All Might's like, wait a minute, you said if I was in my buff form, I would be able to handle this. And he's like, yeah, like, if you want to test it out. And so All Might buffs up, and Katsuki, like, he hands, like, the thing to the hourglass to Katsuki, and Katsuki grabs it, and Katsuki immediately feels like he lost 100 pounds. And All Might's like for a split second, like, his arms, like, go down, and then he picks them back up, and he's like, whoa, this is intense. This is kind of intense. And Izuku is like, yeah, and the reason why, like, and Izuku's like, wait a minute, I said your time limit's, like, is lowering. I mean, like, your time limit, I meant to say, like, your time limit's gonna decrease, right? And All Might's like, yeah, like, I was about to mention that to you, young man. And he's like, yeah, like, so with inside this, like, we're experiencing time accelerated, but I've also, like, I wanted to perfect something. And so Izuku goes over and grabs his scythe and decapitates the chrono bubble, and then walks over to Katsuki and grabs the hourglass, and he puts both of them back into the chrono bubble and then makes the bubble disappear. And so Izuku now basically explains to them that I don't want to spend too much time in there because I'm working on something else, but at least I figured out how to do the gravity, because I was, like, the whole time seeing Katsuki train and everything, lifting everything, it made me think, it's like, man, if somehow I could use my chrono bubbles to slow down, to dilate time within inside the bubble, and so other people could come in, that's when I got the idea of, because I was thinking, it's like, man, we could probably get this cleaned up, like, really fast if I did that. And then one day, like I was messing around with it, and something happened, and all of a sudden I felt heavier, and that's when like I just out of pure need, like that hourglass came to me, and so basically I don't quite understand everything yet, but I think I may be able to make it to where we won't age, so then like we could spend a lot of time inside one of my chrono bubbles, but I'm kind of weary about testing that out myself. I could permanently lock myself into one of these things, and I don't want to attempt that. So at least I can at least increase the gravity, and we can spend some time in there, but it could it would we could age a little bit more than we normally would have. So I still have some training to do with that, but at least we can spend the next 10 months like all my like you can spend 15 to 30 minutes with us in the day, and like I can actually like we can actually have like a timer in here, and like Kotsky can like we can train with just our body, like our body weight, and because like I'm increasing the gravity, we'll get stronger, right? And All Might's thinking, it's like, whoa, kid, like you really did think this out, didn't you? And Izuku's like, yeah. And then this is when Kotsky walks up beside him, and like basically grabs his head and like gives him a knuckle sandwich, and he's like, you damn nerd, you're always thinking like this. Well, that's what makes you the perfect rival for me. And so at this moment, this is when Almighty like pulls out one of his hairs, and he tells Kotsky to eat this, because if you guys don't remember, in the last part, Izuku rewound All Might's like his body, and he's to like a point before he got injured, and so Izuku like he has a thought in the back of his head to do something like later on, but he's like, nah, like let's just let this play out for a little bit. So Almeida explains that Kotsky needs to digest some of his DNA. Either they need to inject him with his blood, or he needs to eat this. And Kotsky's like, gross. Do I really have to eat this? And Izuku pipes up at this. He's like, what are you being a baby for? Like, if it was me, if I needed the power, I definitely would just go ahead and eat the damn thing. And Kotsky's like, shut up, man, I'm gonna eat it. Just, this is kind of weird. And he eats it, and and All Might explains to him that he's not really going to feel anything like for at least for a few hours, but when that happens, just be careful. I've got a couple of things I need to do. And he turns to Izuku, and he's like, and you, young man, if he hurts himself, please do help him out with that. And he goes like, yes sir, I would do it anyway. Like, Kotsky's my rival, and without him there, the only reason why I wanted him to get the quirk is so that at least he can be competitive with me, because like honestly, he looks at Kotsky and he's like, you've kind of been falling off, dude. And Izuku doesn't really think this. He's just saying this so that Kotsky would actually take the quirk. He himself thinks Kotsky is a pretty good rival. He realizes that his power could grow to like a phenomenal level, and he does view Kotsky as a friend. More a rival, but like still, he does consider Kotsky one of his friends, and vice versa. So And Katsuki's not dumb. He probably is thinking this too, but he doesn't realize why Deku's doing this just yet. But for Deku, he wants Katsuki to have a power boost so that Katsuki doesn't feel like he's getting left behind with all the development that he's been doing. And he only showed like the scythe off and everything just to like basically make sure Katsuki would take the court. So this is coming up on 30 minutes total. I'm going to end this one here. So I will go over the, in quotation marks, month and a half that's left. And with Izuku being able to do this, they don't have to spend as much time with each other because that opens up All Might's schedule more. So he's able to do more hero work. And this is going to play a little bit of role into it. But thank you guys for all the support. I hope you guys comment down below if you enjoyed this one or not. And also, I hope you guys enjoyed the double upload of the copy Male Deku series. Like, I really had to change a few things in that one too. Because where I was going to go with it, it would probably give someone... It was starting to get really dark, and I don't really make the story that dark. So that being said, like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already done so, and I will see you beautiful souls in the next video.